Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Welcome to Pagan Problems. We're going to be talking about dealing with trolls and enforcing boundaries. Whether we're in the digital space or in the waking world, assholes are everywhere, and that's just a reality of life. And when anyone tries to form a group of any kind, from time to time, it's going to be necessary to deal with dishonest actors or people with bad intention. On the Gilded server, Blackbird's Brew, we've already dealt with our share, and that's just been since we got established on Gilded in July. And last week we had another ne'er-do-well wander into our midst, wanting to create a ruckus, trying to throw their weight around, and all around conducting themselves in a way that created considerable suspicion and doubt. Now, because of the nature of the digital world, it isn't always immediately apparent when someone seems off about what that cause is. It could be just plain social awkwardness. And after the past few years, I dare say that none of us can claim that our social skills are up to par. So you have to make allowance for honest things like that. But sometimes when someone's off, it's just because they do have that bad intent. Maybe they're a non-pagan trying to pass themselves off as one of us to spy to see what we're really up to. Or maybe it's a leftist just wanting to cause a trouble for non-leftists. And these are just two possibilities amongst many. So on these occasions, it becomes necessary to lay down the law, set some boundaries, and then escort someone out if they are not willing to abide by it. My policy with the Gilded Group is very, very straightforward. I have built it for the benefit of non-leftist pagans, because quite frankly, we have every right to have a place where we can gather together to have discussions about our faith, our lives, our politics, our philosophy, and, anything else we might feel like discussing without getting dogpiled by a pack of leftists or their bots. Especially since when you consider that there are more than enough platforms that are very friendly to leftist pagans who have an absolute field day in their echo chambers. Now, I also welcome the occasional non-pagan who is a respectful guest and who's seeking to build bridges based upon shared American values. And as long as, you're behaving decently, everything is pretty simple, isn't it? So if you are a non-leftist pagan, then I hope you will consider joining the community and becoming an active member of it. Share your interest, your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience. And if you're at the beginning of your journey, share that. And don't be bashful about starting conversations and asking to pick the brains of other pagans who've been at this for a while. And if you're outside of the faith and you're just curious about us, then just announce the fact honestly. And if you ask if you can speak with group members. Ask if anyone is willing to have a conversation with you about pagan beliefs and practices, a friendly conversation, so that you can have a more accurate understanding of what it means to be a pagan in modern times. We welcome that. But the main thing is honesty and at least passable manners. No one is perfect, least of all me, but how we interact, we can reach a level of mutual respect. We can do that. Mutual respect and a reasonable degree of courtesy. But if someone comes to the group and they are not what they claim to be or they have bad intentions, rest assured it will not take long for the rest of the group to figure that out. And that brings me to my responsibility to the group members. My mission is to create pagan community. Therefore, I have an obligation to group members to ensure that the conditions on the server and make it possible for people to actually get acquainted in a relaxed way. And obviously, a dishonest person with bad intentions is not going to be compatible with the goal of the group. And frankly, they are not worthy to associate with the members. And that means I have to be prepared to hit the ban button if someone is unmasked as being, this imposter, or they're openly disrespectful of the group and the members, or who's just trying to take over because they think that they're entitled to do so for whatever delusional reason they might have in their head. I simply can't allow it, and the reasons for why I can't allow it are self-evident. And not only can I not, I should not, and I do not. One of the more nonsensical ideas perpetuated by the political left is that they are entitled to say anything, do anything, be anywhere, and anyone who doesn't like it can just lump it. But that no one is entitled to enforce boundaries against them or to require them to adhere to any reasonable standard of behavior. That is the thought process of an abusive personality. Rules for thee, but not for me. And I'm just not going to put up with that kind of thing. And I don't have an obligation to treat my antagonist as if we were equals on a level playing field of truth and honor. We're not. And their conduct always makes that clear. So I and no one else has any duty whatsoever to put up with their bad behavior. It is past time for us as a community to enforce boundaries with the opposition, whether someone is disrespecting us over our religion or over our politics. Either we're all going to conduct ourselves respectfully and be ladies and gentlemen, or we're all just going to give as good as we get. Either way, that's fairness. That's how it's going to work. And that's the standard I hold to at the Blackbird's Brew server. So trolls, beware. This is your first and your only warning on the subject. I don't care if other people and other groups put up with your attempts to deceive, manipulate, or whatever else you're up to. That's their decision, and I think it's a bad one. I think it does a lot more harm than good not to hold nasty people accountable. But on my server, you're dealing with me, chickadee. And if you can't abide by the rules of common decency, then the group is not a place where you're going to be welcome. Never forget, pagans are not Christians. We have no commandment to turn the other cheek. We are not required to pray for our enemies. And we do not view tolerating abusive behavior as a sign of moral virtue. We are pagans with pagan standards, and that means an expectation of honorable behavior and the enforcement of boundaries. End of story. So that's all I have to say on that subject. If you disagree, I'll be honest, I don't really care. I think this is the only reasonable pathway forward. I don't think anyone should put up with bad behavior and be expected to just take it. That's not how our ancestors dealt with things, and that's not how I will be dealing with things. Not in the present, not in the future. So, on that note, if you're still interested in joining the Blackbird's Brew, there's a link to join us in the description box. And all those of good intentions and pure heart, you are very welcome among us. And trolls, I'm not going to put up with you. Bye.